be live there. God, it's just trying to get everything to work, because YouTube is so weird for live streaming.
Not tried it. I keep meaning to, but not tried it. I kind of fell out of streaming a while ago and to get back.
It is pretty weird.
I'm just too lazy for Twitch, so I was like, oh, I'll get this sorted here. So, oh yeah, we're live. Yeah, you see, with people who are complaining about the light, now that's gone. We've got custom backgrounds now. Thanks to Monstersabound, we actually figured this out. And look, I could just like fade away. You can see my arms just disappear.
You're armless.
That's awesome. Oh god, this is just so cool. This is just so cool.
Okay, I've got this, and I've got the Beastman book, so we are pretty much all set to get into it.
Why am I hearing? Why am I hearing?
Are you hearing what? Are you hearing what?
I've got an echo.
You got? Are you watching your stream with sound somewhere?
No.
Watching your stream with sound somewhere?
I am. No.
There you go. it's usually if echo
professional.
Yeah, if
always.
Okay. Is everybody ready to get started?
I think
good.
so.
Okay, great. Let's hop into it. All right, I'm gonna start the recording. Hello, everyone. LoremasterofSotek here, and we are back with another episode of Lorebeards because it's Sunday, and so far, so good. We're somehow keeping up with a consistent schedule against all the odds. So, we hope you all are doing well, and it's not just us this time. We do have a special guest. Nathan, would you please introduce who we have with us this week?
So we brought my Twitter arch nemesis on. You know, Monstersabound.
Hello. Lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
We've been wanting to for a long time now.
How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. I've had enough sleep, but I've got a toddler, so that's normal. Just used to.
Sleep is now one of those relics of the past.
Yeah. If you're just about to become a parent, then just enjoy sleep all you can, because you'll miss it when it's gone.
I heard a very similar conversation last night. We were celebrating my 30th birthday yesterday, which was lovely, and there was a lot of reminiscing going on, and my father said something along the lines of that. Sleep is just one of those things. It doesn't matter what your kid's personality is. It's just gonna cease for a few years at least.
Yeah, it really does.
Well, we are pleased to have you joining us here today. So we're going to be talking about quite a few things later on in the show regarding each of our histories with Warhammer, because there's actually quite a bit there. And but first things first, let's kind of get caught up with everybody. So I guess we'll go ahead and start with our guest. Dan, what have you been up to lately? I know most of us have been just buried in total war, but is that all you've been up to besides just that and the toddler? I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot, but
it is a lot. Yeah. I'll be honest, I've literally just been mostly playing Warhammer 3, and to be honest, anytime I'm playing it, I'm usually creating content. I don't really have much time to do anything but record, so it's just as well I do like the normal let's plays, because otherwise I don't think I'd ever actually have time to play it. But yeah, I've been concentrating mostly on Nurgle because he is my favourite Chaos God. So, but I've been trying to dip in and play the other factions as well, just to get a general sort of good feeling about them. But yeah, it's predominantly just Nurgle for me, just all the pus all the time.
that's the drawing call. You've been enjoying the game so far? Having good experiences with it?
Oh god, we can't review it, can we?
Can't give it like anything out of 10.
Yeah,
you can't say like I like these things about it.
I like the things that I have done in the game. I think I'm safe in saying that. So,
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Nathan, how have you been doing the last week?
Tired. So much needs to be done. So little time. But yeah, pick the the wrong time to quit pretty much anything. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's a mountain any day you take it, much less when it's pouring down rain and it's covered in it's just up to a 90-degree angle.
It's such a hard thing to do, really is.
It's just I didn't think that we were going to be busy with so many videos. So obviously, quitting Red Bull, quitting energy drinks, quitting smoking. I'm so tired. But I've been doing the same as I'm sure all of us have been doing. Loads of Warhammer 3, getting videos ready and all that. Just the usual stuff, and just slamming my head onto the desk because that's always fun.
Yeah, I find that's pretty therapeutic. Between streams and videos. Well, that's great. Over here, things have been pretty okay. Obviously, celebrated my birthday yesterday, which was very lovely. We had a nice big stream about it, and then I spent the rest of the night with my family. I had intended to come back and do a night stream, but we did not wrap up family time until 12:30, at 30 minutes after midnight, and I was like, I'm done. I'm going to bed. But it was very nice. It was lovely. Still get to see some friends and do some other stuff regarding that. But yeah, was a good week overall. Got to submit my AOS list for a big grand tournament today for Age of Sigmar, which I'm looking forward to. Hopefully that will be fun, and my dice will be nice to me, but we'll see what happens the date when the day comes. But so with kind of that out of the way, let's go ahead and hop into checking out minis for today. For Tale of Two Gamers, which, just a reminder for everyone watching that if you are participating in the schedule that me and Nathan are keeping, there is a character model due next week. Not this week, but next week.
I forgot about that.
That being said, we have had some people go ahead and submit some minis. So feel free, if you're following along with the stream, to just pull up Twitter and go to #Lorebeards, and we will be checking them out from latest. Make sure you sort to latest. Also, fun fact for today is that I am I am currently in Twitter jail at the moment because so Rodrigo, the lovely individual who does artwork of the Who Would Wins, Nathan. So he for my birthday, Hammond decided to be cheeky and had him do a somewhat inappropriate meme image about Elspeth von Draken and Miao Ying. So I jokingly tried to respond something along the lines of thank you very much for the picture, but Hammond, go jump off a cliff. And Twitter was like, I don't think so. I don't think so.
They put you in Twitter jail for that?
Yeah, so I'm in Twitter jail for a week. So if you're like, hey, it was automatically caught. Which, hilariously enough, I want to note that I told Hammond I would strangle him a few days before that. That was totally fine. But on Twitter. But telling him to jump off a cliff, that was too much. that was past the pale.
That's so
insane.
Weird.
It was just a bot. But it. So if you're wondering, that's weird. Why didn't LoremasterofSotek retweet Lorebeards is happening today? That's why. Also, Hammond, you're banned. You're too big of a threat. All right, so let's check out today's picture. So first up, from Hunchy, we've got some Blood Bowl minis. We've got Griff Oberwald, the classic special character from, or I guess star player is the correct term, from Blood Bowl. I think this is his old mini, right? I think his new one actually has a helmet. And then he's also got a Octrin Glimscry from the Cursed City set, which I love this mini. He is such a good, Amethyst Wizard mini.
Very pretty.
But they both look absolutely fantastic. Oh, wow. He did a really good job with... I never noticed that Octrin is holding 2 books with one arm. Like, he's got a little book that he's holding, and then somehow he's managed to be in... I don't know how he's holding that other book under his hand while simultaneously holding the smaller book. Because I bet if I were to try that, it would not go well, and I would absolutely end up dropping that book.
Yeah, that looks like it's about to slip out of his hand.
Yeah,
like he's desperately trying to hold on to it.
yeah, that's probably why he his like melee stats are so. How is he? And then he's doing on the other side too, where he's actually holding on to the staff, but like he must be pressing in his elbows as hard as he can.
If you get to the second, it's like is there like a little strap around it? He kind of strapped it to him. It's like a holster.
There has to be, because otherwise this is like the strongest man in the game. Like screw the ogre character. Like this character would be the strongest just from the pressure he'd be exerting trying to hold on to those minis or those books. But it looks great. And Griff Overwald also turned out absolutely fantastic. I mean, the face turned out really good. Like he painted the lips. He's got pupils in the eyes. He's got eyebrows painted.
He painted Griff with contrast paints, he says.
Yeah, but like he looks awesome. It looks very, very good, especially under that lighting. I do like that he went with a gold painted rim. that seems very Blood Bowl appropriate.
It does look very good.
Yeah, that looks great. Awesome job, dude. All right, next up we've got Florian Naritio sending in some contrast painted Fecula Flyblown and the Worm Spat from Underworlds, which are such a fantastic little warband. Like, it's nice. There's only 3 models, but they each have, like, a massive amount of character. And I really like Fecula Flyblown as the Nurgle sorcerer. Because she has much more of kind of that shamanistic feel to her than a lot of the other ones. But they're just such a great mini set.
Yeah.
Like, they're just gross.
This is my bag right here. Although that guy on the right, is he wearing like a little G-string? Feels like...
I bet originally it was something a lot more elaborate, but due to increase in mass, I think it has basically been reduced to G-string status, yes.
I like it.
But so he can show off all of Grandfather's glorious gifts. I mean, look at all those lovely pustules. But yeah, these look great. Man, that cat, the like nurgling cat thing that Fecula has, like, ugh, I don't know what it is, but definitely ain't what it used to be. It's pretty gnarly mutations for a cat.
For Warhammer Fantasy fans, because I've got this kit myself, it fits, all 3 of them fit very well on 25s, and you can easily cut off the spear of the one on the left and turn them into a banner bearer too, because that's what I've done.
Yeah, so those would be perfect to give you 2, like, chosen, essentially, or I guess you could run them as regular warriors too if you wanted, but they'd probably look much better as chosen. And then, of course, you get a Nurgle sorcerer out of Fecula, but looks great.
It's a great kit. It's one of the best from Underworlds lately.
Next up, Rowan the Accused has returned, and he's got more Custodes. So we have a Blade Champion up first on the docket, followed by some Bikers. And man, those, beautiful paint job. As always, his Custodes every week have been absolutely fantastic and look great. But does anyone else, when you look at the Bikers for the Custodes, did any of y'all ever see Atlantis, the old, I don't think is it Disney? Or
yes,
the old animated movie? Those look exactly like their speeders, except for these ones don't have like the shark heads on top. But like these look very similar to those to the Atlantis little biker ships they use in that movie.
I've not really been keeping up with the Warhammer 40,000 stuff, so seeing Imperial guys on jet bikes is just like, whoa, that's taking me back.
Yeah, jet bikes have been pretty hot this edition.
These are like very, very strong Imperials. They're like Space Marines times 2.
Yeah, because they're like the Emperor's Guard, aren't they?
Yeah, the Custodes are more or less that. They're an army too, I guess. Like 4 models.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have much to do really, so I guess they may as well go out and have fun on their speed bikes. So they probably don't get much time to go and drive around the palace.
Maybe there is a secret derby in the palace, but since no one can go in, nobody knows about it. So
there's two custodians outside. So no, you can't go in there. Why?
No, it's too sacred. Just hear like revving engines and people screaming in exultation.
So apparently, a full army of custodians, a 2,000-point list, is 20 models.
Jesus.
Fuck.
Yeah, so they are ludicrously elite.
Wow.
But hey, yeah, these look. I love his paint scheme. It's great.
It's pretty.
Those look really nice.
Yeah, like we've talked about it pretty much every week because he's had new submissions for this army pretty much every week. But they look great, and he's making excellent progress, much better progress than I'm making with my minis. But we really appreciate these consistent submissions, and man, they look good.
Yeah, they do.
They look very good.
The blades on the bikers look really nice.
Yes. And I just am always envious of how nice his metallics turn out. I don't know why. I feel like they're way shinier than whatever I end up trying. But looks great. All right. So next, we've got Glad has sent in a very cool kit bash. So this is supposed to be Lord Morskatar, the Council of 13 Lord of Clan Skryre. And this is a gorgeous kit bash.
Yeah.
Like, amazing paint job, but also, so it's Admech combined with Ikit Claw, I think? Or maybe the Warlock Engineer combined with Storm Vermin.
That's something else. Those Storm Vermin are something else.
Yeah, those Storm Vermin look fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah, they're chunky too. Like,
and the pose looks really good. Like, oh my gosh, and like, man, the lighting where like the green from the warpstone blades is reflecting onto their faces, and onto like the lower parts of his little war litter, which. Also, I love that it's on a fantasy base. Like, it's legit designed for fantasy. That it's basically I guess you would run this as like a Skaven warlord on War Litter and just equip him with all of the Clan Skryre equipment you could throw on the dude. Because you could give him like a warp lock, a warp musket or a warp lock pistol, and then maybe give him like a wizard's hat so he could still cast magic or something. But like, man, this looks really good. This is a beautiful mini.
I believe if you use the Warhammer Armies project rule set, you can also get a caster on a War Litter too.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Oh my gosh,
it's models and paint jobs like this that make me feel inadequate as a person.
Yeah,
I know. This is why it's stuff like this that causes me to pay people to do it for me instead of participating myself.
Yeah, it's these people's fault. It's their fault. It's
not my fault. It's their fault.
No, it's their fault. That's it.
Yeah.
How dare you be this good?
I have incredible skill and time and materials. I just choose not to because why bother, right? All right. Next up, we've got Goat Force. Who is sending in my favorite mini in all of AOS, Lady Ollander. And he says it's still in progress, but like, dude, if this is still in progress, I am kind of afraid of what it's going to look like when it's finished. But this looks really nice. And oh man, he's got alternating roses. Now I wish I had done that. I didn't do that. I just made them all maybe maybe when I have some free time, I'll go like grab some shades and slightly change the colors on my roses because I didn't do that. That looks really good. Yeah, that looks really nice.
It is really nice.
Yeah, he got man. This is much nicer than my Lady Ollander. Like he got really good gradients on her robes, and he also got really nice edge highlights.
Mm-hmm.
And the oh man, look at the base. The base looks sick. You see this? Like I'm guessing he's. But like the little thing where he's got like the spirit essence appearing on the rocks on the bottom, that looks really nice.
the Age of Sigmar, some of the Age of Sigmar models just look so good, just and so
Night Flame?
spindly.
Night Flame, what is this? What?
Holy crap!
What? I don't even want to look at it. Like,
holy crap!
what is this? What kind of god tier, over the top bullshit? What is this?
This kind of thing shouldn't be allowed. No. Because there's occasionally where I'll go. I do have some models, and I'm like, I should get some paints and and then I see things like this, and I just go, what's the point? It'll never be that good.
Yeah, I also want to note that like Night Flame is also like a freakishly skilled like artist, on top of being a freakishly skilled painter. Oh my gosh!
Holy crap!
Dude, this is disgusting. I hate this. I hate it. I hate how good it is. I hate how stupid beautiful this is, and I don't want to look at it because it's so gorgeous.
Like, holy crap!
Like I'm having a genuinely hard time believing that this isn't bioluminescent paint, because the lighting is so good. I hate it. I hate everything about it.
He's the worst human in the world. Also, when did bases change? Right? What's wrong with a bit of goblin green around the edge?
Yeah,
a
right.
Bit of scenery grass, so everyone looks like they're fighting on a manicured lawn.
Yeah, what's all this fancy shit? Like,
it's ostentatious. That's what it is.
Can we please go back to goblin green and speckled grass?
Goblin green, exactly. That's what we need. Get back to your roots.
The sad thing is, goblin green is a collector's item now. Yeah. You can't even buy it anymore.
I've got pots of it myself. I've got pots of it.
If you have goblin green, it's like worth way more than it used to be, because people are just like, give me that nostalgia paint.
I have like a few of those pots full, like without a broken seal. You can still hear that it's still wet. And I've had people like offer stupid amounts of money of it. It's like, no, that's going to a special army. That's going for my
bases to do.
Yeah,
well, dude, you gotta like save that for a day that you like paint up like a 5th edition model army or something.
I've got it saved. I've got it saved for my first Old World army. When Old World gets its minis launched, it's going to be on Goblin Green bases.
Nice. That's what you need.
Yeah, this is, man. Like, yeah, that makes the Zinch models in Total War Warhammer 3 look like garbage.
Yeah,
yeah, it really does.
I'm gonna be looking at my Burning Herald on Chariot and be like, man, this is terrible. Why can't I have Night in Flames mini?
Just set fire to it. It's not worth it.
The screamers with those red eyes, they look really scary, man.
Like, I paid for a new PC to give me a 3080, and I still won't be able to like have this in my Total War game. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Why even I should just play on a potato, because like it's gonna be the same, right? And I think if we refresh our feed for Lorebeards,
we tagged.
have one last intro.
Nope. We were tagged.
We were tagged?
Yeah, but it doesn't show up for some reason.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just... Oh, here we go. Well, you can just look at the bump. Oh, what's weird is I saw this on my notifications. I don't know why it's not showing up in the Lorebeards tag. That's weird. Whatever. But from Bear, we've got Slaanesh, who was the first Slongor mini they revealed. And he's actually my favorite of the Slongor. Like I like the Slongors, but I wish they had a little more variance among them. A lot of them just have double crab claws, which to me, like, it's okay, but to me it makes them a little too similar to fiends. I actually prefer Slaanesh, where he's got like a one-handed weapon hand and then a crab claw. But this looks absolutely lovely. I love Slaanesh. He's a beautiful mini. I really hope we don't have to wait that long for Slaanesh to get updated rules for Slongors, because they are garbage right now. But man, they look good.
See, I've got mine on because I've got all these obviously, right? And I've got them on squares. I'm actually using them as Chaos Spawn in Warhammer Fantasy.
Oh yeah, they'd be perfect for Chaos Spawn, or if you're running like a Slaanesh themed Beastman army, you could use them as Minotaurs, and they'd do great. Because they'd fit on 40s just fine.
Not seen the Slangor yet. I've seen the Zangor, the ones
yeah,
from...
they've got Zongors and Slangors in Age of Sigmar right now. And then if you play Bud Bull, they've got Korngors and Pestigors, but there's no crossover yet, which is so annoying. I hate it. Like,
the poor
come
beasts,
on,
man.
GW.
They always get forgotten.
I know. Me and Nathan were talking about. We were both super butthurt when they released the Magakin book for it just came out like last month, and there was no Pestigors for this edition. We were like, boo from the stands.
Next one.
I never noticed that he's got a Slaanesh symbol like carved into the flesh of his back, but it's very noticeable on this paint sculpt. It looks very good. I mean, it looks awful, but like in a good Slaanesh way, awful.
Yeah.
Looks great, man. I love the color scheme you went with too. Teal, gold, pink, and purple. Works very, very nicely. And also, yeah, someone in chat. Just a Slangor is like the tail. You're like, oh, that's kind of cute, and then the rest you're like, oh, but it's also a goat man wearing BDSM leather. So, but yeah, it looks great. All right, so that is going to be it for minis. So just a reminder, a new character mini will be due for everyone. Someone, yeah, tail in quotation marks. Quiet, y'all behave over there. So let's get into who would win. I was like, what is the what is the thing we do every week? So we're gonna have a fairly brief who would win, because there's a lot of other stuff to get onto today. But today should be interesting because we're doing something a little different. When I originally started Who Would Wins back in the day, which I'm so glad I don't have to do those by myself anymore. And that they're part of Lorebeards, which I think is a much nicer experience. When they originally started, we specifically made them to only be about matchups that like never happened. But I think that that's a little limiting because there can be really good.
Is everything freezing? Or
we're talking about if we agree with how they went down,
wait.
Or if we disagree. You good?
You froze. I froze.
You look good now.
That's weird. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're fine. We're fine.
Okay.
Sorry.
Right. No, you're all good. So today's matchup, which was suggested by our guest, and I think it's a great matchup.
Also, dear Austin, thank you for the donation. I do appreciate
honestly,
it. Honestly,
the best mutual rivalry in Warhammer Fantasy. Because there are a lot of rivalries that sometimes are a bit one-sided, or there's like more characters involved. So today, we're going to talk about Kazrak the One-Eye versus Boris, not that Boris, Boris Toddbringer. Not the Boris of the hour, the other Boris.
We should have done the other Boris just to mix it up.
I mean, we could do a last-second change. I'm indifferent. What do you think, Nathan?
I'm confused as to what he meant. Did he mean Boris versus Boris, or?
No,
well,
I mean,
okay, now. What about Kazrak versus Boris, but we pull a fast one and say Boris Ursus? Just to mess with everyone who got excited that we're talking about Toddy. Just to ruin all the Toddy fans' days. Because, let's be real, Toddy is always the bridesmaid in waiting. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That's Toddy.
Yeah, it's
Toddy who? He's not even in Total War Warhammer, so
yeah, really he almost was Emperor, but he wasn't. Karl Franz was. He was almost playable, but he wasn't. Karl Franz was. He was almost playable again, but no, it was the other Boris. Yeah, sorry, chat. We're gonna do best Boris.
Oh, Battle of the Borises.
Man, there's gonna be like 3 people who are so angry. All right, so let's do Kazrak the One-Eye versus Boris Ursus.
Right. Give the intro. I'm gonna get the supplement.
Okay, cool. For this matchup, we will be just to keep things stable, I think, we are going to be allowing Kazrak to have his Total War upgrade. So he's going to be riding a Razor Gore chariot into battle. Good, I'm glad you have that book, because I don't on my shelf right
Fading
now.
out.
Yeah, because it keeps your green screen's like, I'm trying to focus on like the closest thing, man. What are you doing? We are going to have Kazrak the One Eye. So everyone in this chat should be, I would hope, familiar with Kazrak. He's actually a very beloved character by a lot of people. Dan had noted him as a favorite character, and I, of course, love Kazrak very, very much. To give a brief rundown of Kazrak is the most devious beastman we've ever had to deal with. He is a specialist when it comes to ambush warfare, and is significantly good at getting surprise assaults on his enemies, which in a who would win, maybe will give him a little bit of edge in starting the throwdown, but isn't going to give him a ton of assistance in these big one-on-one scenarios. But Kazrak, being a beast lord, and a big one at that, is a very, very skilled fighter. He's tough, he's strong, he's fast, he can hit like a truck, and he's brutal, especially when fighting against humans. Beastmen find humans to be their most hated adversary, especially the humans of the civilized realms, though they also hate, the warriors of chaos. And Kazrak is no exception. If anything, he hates the humans of the old world more than most beastmen. And his hatred is such that his fury is going to be higher than it would be in normal matchups. So he's going to be even more dangerous against Boris than he would be against, say, Skarsnik, is just a random person I pulled out of my head. Of course, he doesn't come in alone. He does have his famous magic items with him, most notably his Scourge, which I always want them to make stronger in Total War, and they never do because they like hurting me. But Nathan, I love that your green screen. Your green screen stayed very focused on you that entire time. So you just had this Spider-Man 3 level walk or jolt back to the. I don't know if you thought you were invisible, but you weren't. just to be clear, just so you know.
Like a jaunty goblin strut.
That was a jaunty strut. Dude was, I don't know what he went to get, but he was happy about it.
Let's get the Peaceman book.
Oh, sure you were. I don't know what other book you're hiding in that book, but yeah, okay, right. We've got Scourge, which is, of course, this horrifying whip that has been cursed. It's got all these nasty venoms in it. It's been cursed by multiple Bray shamans, so that should you be struck by it, it just does horrible agony. It is basically just a weapon of pure pain that is designed to kill you very quickly. And the thing about this weapon that I actually really love about Scourge is it wasn't created in a single day. Kazrak didn't just get this weapon and it was originally his. It actually was passed down to Kazrak over many generations of beastmen, with different generations of Bray shamans putting their own curses of dark magic on it over these multiple generations of beastmen. So it's kind of this heirloom that is a very, very nasty, dangerous weapon if it can manage to cut you. You really don't want to deal with it. And most notably, it, interestingly, is basically like being hit with a poisoned weapon. It hurts. You don't want to be hit by it. It's not a fun time. But then Kazrak, unfortunately, has his infamous, it's not famous, but his infamous armor set, which is the Dark Mail. Which the Dark Mail on Kazrak is a great set of armor. It's very ancient. It's chainmail, which for beastmen is very impressive. So it does actually afford him quite a bit of protection. It makes him very, very difficult to wound. However, actually, what am I talking about? CA, how could you do the Dark Mail dirty like this? How could you do the Dark Mail dirty like this? So I just want to point this out for anyone listening in chat. So the Dark Mail in the lore only works against one thing. Now, if you've played Total War Warhammer, I bet your answer is going to be, oh, I know the Dark Mail. It sucks in Total War. Turin always talks about how it sucks in multiplayer. it's good against spells. Nope. That's not what the Dark Mail does. The Dark Mail is a horribly enchanted ancient suit of chainmail that makes it that when enemy races, or well, it doesn't matter who the enemy is, but when someone gets close that has an enchanted or runic weapon, it even specifies runic weapons included, the magic fades away from their weapons. So their weapons become mundane. So it actually prevents magical weapons from striking Kazrak at their full effectiveness. They're just like, the Star Lance of Enric would just be a regular lance. Or Gal Maraz would temporarily just be a basic hammer. Though knowing the lore, if Games Workshop were to write it, Gal Maraz would be hitting at full power. But that's Kazrak. And he will be taking a Razor Gore Chariot into battle, so he doesn't get ripped in half by Erskine right at the start. He has a fighting chance because it's pulled by a giant, horrifying Pumbaa, or pig beast. And they are mean, they are big, they're roughly almost bear size. Not quite, but they're up there. And they're just very spiky and nasty. And Nathan, would you please run us through Boris Ursus and his kit, what he brings riding into battle?
Okay, so we have Boris Ursus, the Red Tsar. He has the armor of Urson, apparently forged many, many years ago on one of the holiest days of the cult of Urson itself. It's quite a good armor set, not, well, then again, it's fantasy, it's a shit armor set, it's only a 4+. But...
don't worry about the numbers. We're just.
I know. I'm looking at stats and I'm like, oh god, why? But this also allows him to attack faster too. It seems. Well, get extra attacks in. He's got the Shard Blade 2, which is his. Can we call that a halberd? I guess.
Yeah, I think a halberd's fair.
Yeah, very powerful halberd. Glaive. Yeah, that works. Which actually makes him really powerful in terms of strength, and anything that he actually does even more damage. Oh, actually, why didn't I never field this? Sorry, I'm just thinking why I never fielded this now. It's actually a decent set. Okay, so powerful glaive, powerful armor. Is he mounted on Erskine? He should be, right?
Yes, obviously he'll be on Erskine. So he has a magical blade that enhances his strength. Does it do? And if he cuts you with it, it hurts more. Turns your blood to ice, etc.
You're gonna take a toughness test, which would then make you deal additional wound.
Yep. Okay. So we've got Boris Ursus, the big man himself, the Red Tsar, the Ratty Boka, the greatest Tsar to ever rule over Kislev, a glorious warrior whose literal only downside is that he was too Kislevite for his own good. Smashed his way into a Chaos army far too deep, and by the time he realized he was overextended, like many of us who have played Total War, it was too late. But he did manage to fight his way back to his army before he eventually died of his wounds. Though, of course, in Total War Warhammer, you can change destiny, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So that's the matchup. We've got Boris with his enchanted armor that does protect him very heavily and also invigorates him to fight harder than you would expect a man of his age and size. And he, of course, has his famous blade, the Ice Shard, I think. Shard Blade, which enchants his strength, makes him stronger, and if he were to cut someone with it, it causes their blood to turn to ice. However, we have to remember that Kazrak's Dark Mail will negate that. Kazrak's Dark Mail, once him and Boris start battling, that ability to cut Kazrak down and make it where he would, potentially freeze to death, internally will not actually aid him in this battle. And its ability to even enhance Boris' strength will be fading in the battle. So with that being the matchup, and of course Erskine is just the best bear. He's best boy bear. He's like he's such a good boy. We love Erskine. He's just the biggest and baddest of bears. But so that's the matchup. I think we are ready to go ahead and start the polls in our chat. But first, we're going to hop to our desk. Dan, what do you think about this fight? Whose side are you on?
Well, obviously I'm on Kazrak's side because Beastmen are my favourite immediately. However, I will say that obviously Boris does have one big advantage over Kazrak, which is depth perception. Because of course Kazrak, with only one eye, if Boris comes in from the side, Kazrak's not going to see him in time.
But Kazrak is a master ambusher, so maybe he's a little more.
Only from the front.
That's why he's so big on ambushing. He knows they have to be right in front of him, otherwise he's not going to see them.
Exactly. See, this is the problem. But I also don't think Kazrak would fight fair because he's a beast man. So obviously he'd be like, let's go 1-on-1, and then he'd be like, a little whistle. Suddenly the Bestigors come in from everywhere, and just pile him while he's making sure he's directly in front of him so that he can't sneak away. But obviously I'm Kazrak's side here because beastmen were always my favourite band of boys, despite the fact that they were always forgotten.
Yeah.
Look,
that's true.
They were decent for like 2 months during the end times.
Well, that makes it all better then.
Well, they had like one good list you could run in 8th edition. So, with Who Would Wins, we will be preventing bodyguards or reinforcements from aiding these individuals. But it seems that Monstersabound he's staying with his boo. He is 100% all in on Kazrak, which I can't blame him. I can't blame him in the slightest. But Nathan, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Kazrak doesn't have his dog, right?
He does not have Redmaw.
All right.
As much as I come on, CA, give us a Redmaw. At least give us like a follower that buffs him a little bit or something.
I might have to go with Boris, to be honest, because comparing the both, he would be fast on the chariots, which I'm assuming, he does have, right? Kazrak?
Yes, he would be on his chariot, which does make... But Razor Gores are not super, super quick. Like, they hit hard, but they're not as quick as Razor Gores would be.
I'm going by lore definition, probably Boris, because considering, look, Boris himself and Erskine, both of them are very powerful in their own right. Didn't Erskine like fight off a Chaos Warband as he's protecting Boris for like the majority of the time too?
Erskine has like never lost.
Yeah.
I don't think ever.
I think Kazrak would have probably had the win if he had some backup, but by himself, he won't be able to ambush. He won't be able to do everything that he's known for. You would get rid of magical armor and so on and magical weapons, but there's a big bear, like a really big bear. I think Boris wins, in my opinion, because of the bear.
To be fair, that is a big bear.
Yeah, that it is. That is a giant bear, which is that's a fair assessment, I think. See, normally I always go contrarian to Nathan and try and explain how I think it would work. But now there's like a tie. But I think I'm just gonna I'm gonna stick with my heart, and I think this is gonna shock people in chat. But I'm gonna go Kazrak, and the reason I'm going Kazrak, I think, is because of Boris's nature versus Kazrak's nature. Kazrak is a sneaky son of a bitch who I think would realize very quickly as soon as he saw Erskine that, you know what, charging straight head on and just like fighting this out, probably not going to be my my best move. But using the chariot and doing what he can to keep Erskine in a mobile fight, so like the chariot's riding along, I think Boris would keep pursuing, because that's what Boris does. Like Boris, he's aggressive. He's the Ratty Boca. He doesn't give a damn. He's just going to keep going. Him and Erskine are going to feel very invincible, and they're going to be going all in to try and bring Kazrak down. Whereas Kazrak, I think, would draw things out and constantly be using Scourge to just keep landing blows against Boris and Erskine over and over and over as they're constantly running along. And Kazrak's armor is actually vastly superior to Boris's in a matchup like this, where Boris relies, I think, more on the power that he gains from the Shard Blade versus Kazrak, who relies more on his raw abilities as a Beastman, just further augmented by Scourge, which Scourge would allow him to be striking both of them simultaneously. Being this whip that literally lashes out and is capable of hitting like entire groups of infantry, basically everyone that's near Kazrak all at once. And I think that he would wear Boris down until he got to a point where he could bring the chariot around and have the Razor Gore slam into Erskine and wound the bear. And I think the moment the bear was heavily wounded enough to be taken out of commission, or was at least slowed down enough, I think Kazrak would be able to take them down. But like with all who would wins, I do think, not all of them, but many of them, I think this one's actually a pretty close matchup, and I genuinely think you could go either way. I do think that if you put the two of them in a very tight arena and we're like, fight each other, no, just fight. Like, you're not allowed to move around, just fight. I think Boris would utterly dominate because of Erskine. But I don't think Kazrak would play that way. Kazrak's no fool. He's lost too many eyeballs for that nonsense. He learned his lesson. He's already gotten whipped by one Boris. All right, but my poll just wrapped up, and we have chat said that Boris Ursus would win. 77% of chat went for Boris Ursus. Only 23% went for Kazrak.
I've got 69. Nice for Boris.
Nice.
Keep in mind, because I was going to use this as a counter argument now. When the Tsar was taken down himself and Erskine had to defend him, he was basically fighting Kurgans non-stop. These are skirmish fighters. If he can take on an army or a warband of skirmishers, he can take on one beastman.
All right, well, it sounds like most of chat agrees with you, which, once again, is a fair point.
Frankly, I think I was robbed. Kazrak should win.
My chat's declaring me a heretic.
This book just throws you off. Because then you see the prices of the old days. It's weird. Ugh.
Don't look at those. they're gonna make you upset. Don't look at them. Yeah. So let's go on to our next topic: GW prices and inflation.
Yeah. They're scamming you all.
All right. So we're going to head on to kind of one of the big topics for this week, which I'm sure a lot of people in chat have been eagerly waiting for, which is, of course, Kislev. So all of us have been playing the game because we are very, very fortunate, and we appreciate CA for sending us those early copies. Thank you very much. Let's start with our guest, Dan. Have you had any time to kind of jump in with Kislev, or even just slapping them around a bit?
Yes, I mean I slap them because obviously I'm playing Nurgle a lot. I do tend to. They do like invading. You know what? I think they're actually the empire of Warhammer 3 in many respects, because you leave them about 100 turns and suddenly they own all of Kislev, all of Norska, and they have like 20 stacks currently heading towards you.
Yeah, they can become a bit of an infection pretty quick.
Yeah, which for Nurgle is a problem, because really he should be the infection. But but yeah, so normally what I tend to do is like try and squish them ASAP, because if you leave them, they just seem to overpower. But having played them, I thought I'd like Kislev more than Cathay, but I actually think I prefer Cathay to Kislev.
Really? Do you have any thoughts on why?
I think it's because the dragon siblings fight like they're Mortal Kombat characters, and I kind of love that.
So it's more of a stylistic thing?
Yeah, it is, yeah. But, you know, when you see a dragon swoop down and rain swords from above, you're kind of like, that's pretty cool. And I know Katarine can do the whole Ice Elsa type thing. It's just not as cool as, like, you know, flaming kick someone in the heads with a roundhouse kick. That's pretty cool. I have to give that to them. But I do love Kislev. I love the fact that every one of them seems to be packing heat. So your entire army just unloads.
They have a very realistic roster for dealing with chaos. We're just pretty much everybody has a gun.
Yeah, exactly. So that's quite a pain to deal with. But it is very cool to play. You know, even your front line tend to have sort of like some shots available to them, which is really nice. And I think generally I really like the mechanic of having like the big cities, and then you're sort of like you have the big cities and then the wilderness, almost like those little minor settlements which never become proper settlements. They're just sort of like there to support your main settlements. So I really like that. I like their roster's fantastic. The only slight problem I would say is that I think they just make the Empire look like garbage, which
yeah, I definitely agree with some of the points. I do think that Kislev's system of having just 3 major capitals and that's it, and they're like single settled provinces, right? So they're just these super cities, and then they're just surrounded by the little settlements out in the Oblast. That is such a clever way to make Kislev feel Man, I feel like a game reviewer. Playing Kislev makes you feel like Kislev.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it really does give you that really great feeling of, okay, I've got literally 3 bastions of civilization that pseudo-reliably, poor Prague, have held out against the forces of chaos. Meanwhile, everything else is basically like the super ancient tribal settlements or really, really small stanitsas or villages that are barely hanging in there, or they have to get rebuilt every few years. And it's an interesting feeling because it's more like, okay, do I use these small settlements? The dilemma that I've genuinely felt when I'm playing it is like, oh, do I use these small settlements to try and get access to maybe some of like the only like max at tier 3 military buildings, just so I don't have to waste a slot in my major city for that? Or do I build them purely for my economy and have them like lots of farms? Because the farms don't make a lot of money. But if you spam the farms and the windmill buildings, the windmills increase the percentage of farms like in that region. And there's other buildings you can get like faction-wide increases. So it can start to like steamroll. It can start to snowball up. And you can actually get a surprisingly good economy from it. Or do I build devotion buildings so that I can just ramp up supporters? Which I don't know about YouTube, but playing as Katerin or Kostaltin, did y'all have any success with the supporter system? Like, I found, at least in my playthroughs, I had to spam devotion buildings because trying to build supporters through the invocations, I just like, I would get like left in the dust by the AI if I tried to do that. Because I just could not get enough devotion to keep those invocations going.
So I've tried it with different difficulties to obviously test it out for my videos, and it's kind of like you have to use both, but you have to be really on top of it, and then you also have to use your devotion and your money to get rid of their supporters too. It's a lot of micromanagement. Obviously, many of us, like, we'd be used to this mechanic because this was the same one from Troy, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, it's the same one that Hector and Paris.
Yeah. So we'd be kind of used to how to do this, more or less, but it's still like, because you can easily forget about it.
Yeah, I'm the idiot that didn't play Troy, which one of these days I need to rectify because I'd like to try it out. The mythical mode looks fun, but yeah, I actually lost. I was genuinely trying to play it as hard as I could. Like, I was going for invocations, and I was like, okay, I'm about to take some settlements, so I would do the invocation of Ursun, so I'm getting 5 per settlement. Oh, I'm going into the realm of chaos, so I'm going to do the invocation of Tor, so I'm getting 2 supporters per battle, and I lost. Like,
so what happens when you lose, out of interest?
So if you lose, the other AI faction becomes impossible to confederate. So you cannot confederate them, and you can't declare war on them either. So basically, like, they're just there forever, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you can make a military alliance with them, so they could be your ally, so they won't block you from, like, winning the campaign, even if you're doing, like, paint the map necessarily. But if you lose, yeah, like, you missed your shot. But, like, for me, it was kind of funny because, like, I lost the race, and then, like, the Godslayer just immediately rolled up and, like, brutally murdered Kostaltin on my doorstep, so he was no longer a problem.
Nice, that works.
Yeah, but my second playthrough that I played pretty much all the way through with Kostaltin, I literally just spammed devotion buildings. Like, every single minor settlement, I put the little church in, and upgraded it to tier 3 as fast as I could, and I won the race by a landslide.
Yeah.
Because the religion building will generate 1 supporter every turn. Whereas, per building. Whereas if you do like an invocation, you're having to spend like 100 devotion usually to get like, oh, you get 1 supporter per building you finish. Like, all right, so, or like the only one that I think's honestly good is using Ursun on turn like 1.
Yeah.
Because you're conquering like an entire province in your first few turns. But the other thing that's rough is I think Katerin actually has a bit of a downside compared to Kostaltin, because Kostaltin starts not in any of the major cities, right? He starts just in like Castle Alexandrov, which is not a major city, and he just has to take what's left of his province from the Ungol Kindred, So he only has like 3 little fights that he's done. Because the thing is, every time you fight a Kislevite faction, if you win a battle, or if you just fight a battle against Kislevites, your number of supporters goes down.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're playing as Katarin, you start off with Kislev City, so you have a whole province, and the game starts you off at war with another Kislevite faction who have an entire province.
Yeah,
so
and they have Prague too.
Yeah, and they have Prague. So like, if you're playing Katarin, you have to kill them as fast as possible, because the longer you wait, the more you're just nuking your own. Kostaltin has a huge advantage in the race because he does not have to lose as many supporters as Katarin does. Which sucks because you obviously want to own everything, especially if you want to unlock Boris. Because to unlock Boris, you have to own Erengrad, Prague, and Kislev for 10 turns. But if Kostaltin let's say you're playing Katarin, you start with Kislev, which is great, but Kostaltin usually gets Erengrad very, very fast. So if he beats you to Erengrad, the only way you can get it is either an AI faction has to kill him for you, or you have to confederate him. Otherwise, you will never get Erengrad.
Yeah, that's a problem. Especially because you only get those 3 cities, don't you?
Yeah, and if you play as Kostaltin, Katarin starts with Kislev. So either you have to wait for her to die, or you have to confederate her.
Mm-hmm. So
really don't want to lose that race.
Do the followers do anything after you've won?
Yeah, they give you faction-wide buffs.
Yeah,
okay. They're not like insane, but it's like I think it's like 9. Like once you're at 100 supporters, I think you get a 9 leadership, like 10% speed, and some other kind of buff, like faction-wide for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's definitely helpful.
It's
not a case of you sort of win the political battle and you're like, okay, torch the churches and build windmills in that place.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could do that, but the churches do generate devotion. So once you have enough churches, you can actually spam invocations, which give you some really sexy buffs. Like, I love them for the buffs. I just think they're useless for the supporter race. I do like the race, though. It adds a lot of tension. A lot of tension to the Kislev campaign. Because, like, yeah, sure, you've got the Chaos race going on. But, like, at least for me, until I've confederated the other faction, the Demon Prince race, like, racing to get the Demon Prince souls is kind of in the back of my mind. Because I'm focusing on dealing with supporters.
Well, that's an issue that I kind of have because you have the other race too. It's like, oof, because you're dealing with the other factions. Skarbrand is really aggressive. I don't know what difficulty you guys are playing in, but like I had a little bit of a playthrough where I had Skarbrand, Nakari, Godslayer, and then Kulgath decided to come down and play. So I was fighting on like multiple ranks at the same time.
Kislev's hard. I actually think Cathay is much easier than Kislev in my opinion, because they have a lot more hard borders where you don't have enemies coming at you from certain directions. Kislev, you do not have a safe direction.
That's all.
Like, you got Scrag below you, and Scrag doesn't like you. Being friends with Scrag is super hard because you're going to want to be friends with the Empire, and Scrag is busy kicking the crap out of the Empire.
Yeah.
So by the time Scrag gets to you, he's like, you like the Empire? That means you're food. And you're like, oh, God. Oh, God, please, no. But they're a very strong faction, and they're great against demons just because of the mass amount of shooting they have.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan, what do you think about Kislev in general? Like, what are your thoughts?
I think they're alright, to be honest. Obviously, a bit different to what we all imagined Kislev to be, because did monsters just die?
Dan, we lose you?
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Discord's being a bit weird.
All right, it happens. Keep going.
Right, so yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say, like, obviously they were different to what we imagined, because obviously when I originally thought of Kislev, I thought the book and the little lore tidbits we've had. I think they're quite enjoyable, though. I was having quite a bit of fun. It's very different, but a lot of hybrids. Like, I think 95% of your actual roster is a hybrid.
It's close to that. I think it's more like 80%, but all of your elite units are not hybrids, but everything below that are hybrids.
We've got
unless they're unless it's cavalry, in which case only your lowest tier are hybrid, and then everything above that is not.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got a lot of hybrids, so it's very movable. Like I was being able to be quite aggressive. I did a live stream with Kostaltin where I directly went for the Godslayer. I was like, screw it, man, I want to get rid of the problem early. And I fought, I had an army of basically Kossars, Streltsy, and a few armored Kossars to be my front line, because obviously they can fire too. And I took on, 2.5 stacks? I was quite happy because obviously this is...
Well, yeah, if you keep those guns firing, they will eviscerate people.
Yeah.
But like Kislev, I think Kislev is very... you know what's funny is I thought Kislev was going to be my least favorite faction, just based on like theming and rosters and stuff. I actually ended up finishing a Kislev campaign first for like when we were all just kind of like playing through the game. I finished a Kostaltin campaign. Because I was like, Kostaltin, like, Rasputin, like, that's kind of cool, whatever. But I think I'm like, Katarin more. Kostaltin is a beast.
Oh, yeah.
Like, having access to all of the prayers, like, good God, he's dangerous. And he makes his army really, I really like support characters, which is something I think CA hasn't had the best track record with, is making, like, really fun characters who, like, on their own aren't maybe, like, the greatest, but they make their armies, like, really, really spooky. But I think Kostaltin is, like, the best one they've ever made of a character who just... He's not going to be out there, like, one-shotting Scarbrand like Volkmar the Grim can do. Because, like, Volkmar the Grim was kind of intended as a support character, but Volkmar is much more of, like, a hardcore beat stick that's basically invulnerable.
Yeah.
And can, like, take on entire armies by himself. Kostaltin is not that.
Yeah.
He is... You cannot send out Kostaltin and he'll, like, win. He'll survive for a good while. He has a lot of buffs to just keep him alive.
Yeah.
But he's a support character. He's all about just making your army as good as it can be.
Yeah, I mean, he does some decent damage, especially when you mount him up on a bear and so on. The way I've had him is at the front, being supported by 2 other Patriarchs, mounted on bears too. And I've been able to kind of play around with a lot of range to support him. And possibly 2 spellcasters, also one of Law of Ice and one of Tempest. You can get him quite tanky, just he's not going to be able to... he's not going to do anything mind-blowing, but he can pack a punch. And if you can get him with a Helm of Discord at the very front too, it just helps. It really does help.
That's interesting. I've not really tried him because he was probably my least interesting character for me.
That's what I thought.
It's like, he's just a hairy hobo. I don't...
Thing is, he can come back fast though, because if you get some skills, he basically comes back like Morga, like next turn.
Well, that's the thing they did with him that's really smart, is like he doesn't... You're like, you look at him and he's like, okay, like dude doesn't have any magic or anything, but they give him all these stupid, crazy abilities where the lower his health gets, the tankier he gets. So like once he gets below half health, he basically starts regenerating freakishly fast. And also gets like more resistant to damage the closer he gets to death. Which makes him really annoying if you're fighting against him, because he could, like, the closer he is to dying, the more hard it is to finally finish him off. The thing about him is, if you've played a bit with Kislev, I'm sure you've messed around with the Patriarchs. Like, their prayers are obscene. Like, they're very strong. Of like, okay, Roar Version is like, what, 36% charge bonus and immune to psych. If you time that well on a charge, it's devastating. You know, if you do Tor plus 40 melee attack, crazy good. You do Solyak, everybody heals, super good. And then Daz is... I can't remember what Daz is, but it's also... I remember it's also good, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But Kostaltin gets all of them. He doesn't pick. He just gets all of them at the same time. And he also has another buff he gets where he reduces the cooldown even further. So you can legit get Kostaltin to the point where he has all these prayers, and you activate the first prayer, and by the time you've activated the last prayer, the first one is basically off cooldown. So you're just like, and he's ridiculous.
Oh no, it sounds like playing a bard in EverQuest.
Yeah, he's really angry bard. Oh yeah, that's right. Dawes is 100% vigor rejuvenation.
Nice.
Ugh. Yeah, so he like gives perfect vigor to his army. Obscene.
Nice.
But did any of y'all play around with Katerin? Any?
I have played all the lords that have been revealed and finished all their campaigns.
You finished them all?
I have not slept in days.
Jesus. I mean, neither have I, but I haven't completed all the campaigns.
All right, so we know now. We're going to start a new rehab center for people that are trying to quit all of their addictions at the same time. And we just lock them in a room with Total War Warhammer 3 and say, when you fully 100% the game, you can come out.
All the achievements, including
all the achievements, and you'll be cured. That's how it works.
I'm still trying to fight my way through them, but I'd say Katerin for me was a bit more fun than Constantine. Mainly because...
What about it did you like?
Well, having a big city was helpful. Having a big city was very, very helpful. Because I play super aggressive, and I need to recruit some higher tier units ASAP. I was getting into fights that I just could not deal with in Norska when I was playing as Konstantin, where with Katerin I was just slamming my way through, because obviously having magic early on, it's not the strongest law of magic, but having any sort of magic is very helpful. So you can do damage from far away. She can also summon the Battle Kitty early on too, just like the other spellcasters. So that gets you a 21 unit army rather than 20. And it costs no winds of magic, I think, to summon the Battle Kitty.
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah. So you can do a lot with the magic stuff too. I've always preferred a spellcaster based army. I'm not sure about you guys, but I've always preferred a spellcaster like centered army.
I do like starting with a caster, but I did like Katerin. I haven't really tried. I kind of started a campaign as Consultant, and I kind of went, nah, he's just a hairy hobo. But I did enjoy Katerin, and I don't mind support characters, but I do. See, Kugath doesn't really, but I do think that's probably why I like the dragon siblings, because they can kind of do that, or they can kind of sit back and support a bit, and you kind of have the option. But Katerin is fun, and you can kind of almost throw her into combat as well, and she just kind of seems to do fine. So.
Oh yeah, especially when she gets up like on a bear. Yeah, Katerin, I really, starting with Prague or Kislev is super nice, because those cities are so fun. Like, I absolutely love that each of them has 4 unique buildings. It just makes them feel like really, really fun. Like, not all of them, not every unique building is like a total home run, but a lot of them are like super good. But like, I think I like Prague's, or not Prague's, Kislev's the most, where you get Zargard really early.
Yeah.
Especially because Katerin can make Zargard just like super, super gnarly. But I do think Kislev is a good time. And then, of course, the next, kind of the last big guy to talk about, who has a very different campaign, is, of course, the big man himself, the totally well-hidden secret that did not leak anywhere at all,
Not
weeks in advance.
Yeah.
Nope. Boris Ursus. Have you played him? And B, if you did, what are your thoughts? Start with Dan this time.
You know what? I haven't even unlocked him yet.
Oh my god! How could you do this?
I know. I keep meaning to ask someone for the save, but I just.
Oh, I will. I'll send you a save, fam.
Oh, thank you.
Nathan, what about you?
Yeah, I unlocked him as soon as they told us we could. Pretty different campaign, because obviously you don't have the race to take part, but you can take part in the race in a sense by influencing the race. It's different. I think that right now, because you're fighting like greenskins and so on, it's not so difficult. It is very different. It's going to get harder when a race pack takes over that territory, that's for sure. Because you're going to be dealing with something that's going to come in and be probably a bit stronger. because greenskins at the moment, especially with no buffs from legendary lords and so on, they're not really much of a threat. But I think it's a little easier, but also different. You're so far away. You can make your way back to Kislev without a problem too, so it's easy enough. But I just fought my way through the mountains, through the Darklands, and then straight into the Mountains of Morn for fun. Because I thought, screw it, I'm already here, why not just keep pushing? And I invaded Cafe because I thought that was going to be funny.
I actually had a harder time with Boris than the other characters. I actually found Kostaltin the easiest and Boris the hardest. But I think it may be due to my play style of that. I tend to really like to consolidate space and like build tall, not to play really aggressive and like build like go out really, really fast. And for me, the issue with Boris was that without any of those.
Why does Discord keep freezing?
Also, there are very persistent, annoying threats constantly coming at you from the chaos wastes of like the ogres and then Kugoth and warriors. And the thing that was killing me about the Darklands is it's so big compared to Kislev, as far as like the amount of distance you have to cover between settlements is gigantic compared to Kislev. Kislev, there's like 4 settlements within full movement range, no matter where you are. Whereas in the Darklands, most of the settlements are 2 turns away. So I was having a much harder time defending my territory and not losing it to the AI. Because like I would think I was safe, and then Skaven would come at me from the west, or Greenskins would come at me from the east and the south, and then I had ogres just constantly harassing me from the north. And I couldn't be everywhere at once. So I was actually having like a pretty hard time. Like eventually we stabilized, but it probably took me like 70 turns to really stabilize those first 2 provinces that I took in the Darklands. And like I do think if you're playing as Boris, literally the first thing you should do is get like a hero, doesn't even like Ice Witch or Patriarch, and just send them west. Go away, go meet all the Kislevite factions, go meet all the Empire factions, so I have somebody to trade with, because otherwise, I waited way too late to start doing that, and I think that's what was really hurting me, was that I didn't have all that money coming in from trade, and oh my god, it made it brutal for a good while, because it's like, yes, Boris gets, ridiculous upkeep reduction and stuff on Warbear Cav, that's awesome, but if you don't own where he starts, you have to get to tier 5 to get Warbears, or tier 4 actually, but it's like it takes a while to get up to bears, and everything else is really expensive. Like Kislevite units are very expensive on average because of their hybridization.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that hybrid stuff. Like I want to be good at it, but I have a hard time making sure my pistol units are lined up where they all like get shots off before they get tangled up into combat. And because so much of your army is gunpowder, very little can volley fire, like fire over friendly units. So like if you get blocked line of sight because all of your guys get messed up or whatever, you can really run into problems with Kislev very quickly.
See, I'm a dude who loves hybrid units, so I've just been because I kind of got used to it with a few units that we've had, and obviously people have been modding in like hybrid factions and so on. So I've kind of gotten used to that type of style of play. It's easy if you're being aggressive because you can generate cash by just beating down enemies, but you've got to be careful too because, like you said, like the Darklands, there's space involved and so on. Depending on where you want to go, the trade thing is 100% correct. You need to do that or else you will start to suffer, especially if you can't get some allies up and running. Which, when you played as Boris, did you notice that? Did you notice the Kislevites? Because obviously it's very different because every time you play Total War, it's the AI being the AI. But I had Catherine expanding quite a bit and Constantine doing quite well. Like it was weird because I never really have that a lot with allied factions expanding well, you know?
If I am not playing either Kostaltin or Kislev, then Kostaltin and Katarin are kicking ass.
Yeah.
And they're taking like swaths of territory. If I am playing either of them, we're both awful until we get confederated. But like, even if you're playing as Boris, that's like, if I'm playing one of the other factions, Kislev is like, they are like doing great. And then if I'm playing as Boris, they're doing great. The AI seems very good at like getting very powerful with Kislev.
Yeah, they really do. I always make a point to try and knock them down a peg or two to make sure that they're not going to continue to expand.
See, it's interesting because generally your allied races or factions will not generally do so well from what I've noticed in Warhammer 2. And they were okay here. Like when I was playing Kostaltin, I had... this was during my live stream sessions. I had Katarin expanding into Kurgav's territory, right? And what's that minor faction right next to you that own Erengrad? The red and white one.
The Enclave. The Drew something Enclave.
Yeah, they took Krakadrak, like all 4 settlements, which I thought was funny. Like, it's a minor faction, and they did fairly well, you know?
Kislev do seem to be quite strong just in general, especially for the AI.
It's kind of needed. I'm imagining that they're going to need to... Because obviously, you've got... Because I had this weird thing where Skarbrand allied up with Nakari, which was just bizarre. So, obviously, you've got all the Chaos factions coming down for you eventually, especially if you're playing in harder difficulties like myself and like you guys, I imagine, because player bias exists, right? So it's brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, yep.
And it is nice to have a hybrid faction to be able to deal with everything coming for you. Like, sometimes you could be a little bit like... I had that issue with the Godslayer, but thankfully the Godslayer is a hybrid faction because he's got access to 4 rosters. But that Wood Elf and the Wood Elf minor faction just goes straight for you, right?
It really does. Them and Nordland.
Yeah!
They just sail across.
Yeah, I've noticed it seems, at least in my experience, it almost seems that there are certain factions that are basically like hard-coded to just go after... like, if you're playing a certain faction, there are basically like 2 to 3 factions that are like your enemy, who are going to do everything in their power to like screw you over.
I think it has to do with, particularly with the Godslayer and Kugath, because they start on the coast.
Their start positions suck.
Yeah, really do. And it's not because they start on the coast, it's because the enemy AI start on the coast, and they don't have anything better to do than sail across and harass you. If you're playing as Kugath, Krakadrak will send a stack over by that turn 3, 4.
Playing Kugath is so fun, but his start position sucks so much because, like, you're playing Kugath, you're like, I want to go expand to the Chaos Waste, and Kislev and the Dwarfs just won't leave you alone. They just keep sending 20 stacks. And you're like, I can't build walls because I'm Nurgle.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that to build defenses, you need to build basically all of your infrastructure buildings. And on top of that, you need resource buildings to get additional agents. And there's not one resource building in either your starting province nor your natural expansion.
Yeah,
not even anywhere on the coast.
Yeah, I love Nurgle, but I really think they should add garrison units to some of the other like military buildings for him, because it's really hard to have a stable garrison that you don't have to, like, I basically with Nurgle have been forced to always have just like a Herald of Nurgle who just permanently runs around defending from armies once I've got like big garrisons defending those cities, because without a lord, the even like I've put every single building that adds to their garrison and it's a tier 3 settlement, it's still a risky proposition when the AI
at best 50% of your garrison is going to be Nurglings.
Yeah,
which like they can get good, if you like really get heavy. And the thing I've noticed about Nurgle, and at least what started to help it, like, we're transitioning to Nurgle talk, so everyone just deal with it. The thing I've noticed is that you really have to rely on the plague system. Like, it's not just there for fun.
Yeah.
I've noticed, like, the only way I was able to start actually expanding is the millisecond I noticed somebody was sending an army to attack me, I would immediately spawn a cultist and go bomb them with like a big plague. Because cool. if I didn't do that, like, they would get to me and I'd be screwed. Because like either Kugoth was in the realm of chaos, because if there's one thing the AI is very good at, it's the millisecond you go to the realm of chaos with your legendary lord, the AI is like, attack with everything! Go all in!
It's every time, isn't it? As soon as your legendary lord goes to that realm gate, suddenly it's like 3 stacks suddenly appear out of nowhere and they like converge on you.
Yeah, they're hiding in the fog of war, just waiting for you to go to the realm of chaos. But yeah, the only way, like, so I was doing a very hard campaign with Kugoth. The only way I was able to stabilize and start expanding is I had to have like the heroes, the plague riddens that were maxed out in assassinations and assault units, constantly running around attacking enemy armies, a lone herald who was constantly in march stance running around to cities to help defend them, and then I was just spamming the living hell out of plagues that were like attrition minus melee attack and like give me income so I can survive, and was just bombing these armies because otherwise I could never leave. I could literally never leave.
It's why I always go into the realm of slaanesh first with Nurgle, because particularly some of your buildings like 10k.
Yeah.
You don't have that economy.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that Nurgle's buildings, like, yeah, sure, you build a single building and it just sustains itself, but like, man, that initial cost is brutal.
And particularly units like Fury, you can't have Furies unless you spend 10k on a building.
Yeah, that one I'm not a fan of. Because Furies are like because you're so slow that if the enemy has shooting, if you don't have Furies, you are in for a bad time.
By the time you can get Furies, to be honest, you go, I might as well get the Rotflies, because by the time I can build a building, I'm going to be able to
because like, okay, well, since I've got Furies, like the cycle, I think it goes like Fury and then Rotfly. Like, you don't even get that many Furies from Fury building. I really think they should move the Furies onto one of the infrastructure buildings instead of it just being pure Nurglings.
Yeah.
Just one of them.
Nurgle has a rough time, to be honest. I love him, but he's... I'm not in... I wish I was smart enough to do the maths as to whether this is actually, like, his building style is actually a benefit or actually worse.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm not smart enough to figure out if there's, like, a good optimum... Like, should I be trying to, like... The only thing I figured out that seems to work really nicely is just spamming techs or the whatever abilities I can find to reduce the cycle times. Is that like that is undeniably works really great. But everything else about Nurgle, it really seems like they very heavily designed him so that you really need to be leaning on that plague mechanic.
Yeah.
Because it is your everything. If you're not utilizing your plagues properly, like if you are saving infections, it is either you're very lucky or you're doing something wrong, because you should probably be like spamming. Otherwise, you're going to run into trouble.
I think when you get rolling though, because one of those plagues like a 35% casualty replenishment rate. So at which point you're like, I can fight a battle next turn.
Oh yeah, once you get the recipe plagues are like, oh, this is good stuff. Like this, like the casualty replenishment one, which thankfully you get very early.
Yeah.
That one really allows Kugoth to just do whatever he wants.
I always rush for that one because it's so useful in the realm of chaos, because you can fight a battle in camps. You can literally just go into encamp stance, fight a battle, and the next turn you just back up to maximum. You don't need to go to the special locations to heal up.
Yep. So, granted, there are still 2 races left to be revealed with Slaanesh and the Ogre Kingdoms. But once again, we're not giving review information by any means. I'm just, we're answering a casual question, which is, of the races you've played so far... Yep, Discord freaked out there for a second.
Yeah, I heard of the races that you've played so far, and then it just.
Who's your favorite currently?
Oh, nobody's gonna believe me, but Scarbrand.
Corn. Okay, so Corn for.
I got dragged into shit.
How could you betray your boys like that, Nathan?
No, I got dragged into shit. Like, there was a Reddit thread about me saying that I was anti-corn and all that shit. Like, they named me specifically. Oh, Great Book of Grudges hates corn.
How dare he adjust his opinion based on experience? How dare he?
Well, the thing is, by that point that the thread had come out, we'd already been playing. So I'm like, yeah, man, I wish I could tell you, but I can't.
The thing is, I am anti-Khorne. I think Khorne's a very boring chaos god. He's only got his anger thing. That's literally he's just got anger issues.
But like, he's fun. Like, it's different because you have no magic. I think it's. Did it freeze again?
Don't worry about me. Just keep going. I get caught up.
No, I mean everything just froze up.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, that's weird.
Definitely Discord.
Yeah, it's definitely Discord today. But yeah, no. So he's different because obviously there's a lot of different. Like it's melee, a bit of cavalry, no magic. You don't really have a buffer, barring the locust and so on, but it's not really a dedicated buffer. No range barring the skull cannon. I think it's interesting. I think it's a very. I thought I would hate it, but I don't.
What about you, Dan? Who's your favorite so far?
I think all of the races I think are that we can talk about are fantastically well designed, and each of them feels unique. And Nurgle feels very Nurgle. He's slow. He's tanky. He has the plagues. It's all for. Kislev, they've obviously done the thing where obviously Kislev is that sort of like nation of two sides where you've got the built up sort of like urban centres and then the expansive steeps. And they've made that part of the faction. And I think that's true of every single faction in the game, in that every single one of them is so unique and well designed. With that said, I still love Nurgle. I love my tanky boys. I love the plague bearers. You just can put them into a group, set them at the enemy, you go make a cup of tea, come back 10 minutes later, and they're just finishing off.
We've arrived, finally.
And they've done their little charge, which is sort of like, oh, okay, I guess we'll do this.
Yeah, oh, dude, Plague Bearers are so fun. Like, Nurgle in general is hilarious, but the Plague Bearers are so great, because they literally look like minimum wage employees who are just there because they have to be. Not because they want to be.
I love the Great Unclean Ones. I don't know what it is about the big bulky boys, but I just love them. Particularly the Great Unclean One. I've got one that I kind of saved from a campaign, and I've brought him in at level 30, and he's got like the damage effect all around him. So as long as he's in melee combat,
I would love to ask about that real quick. So how does that feature look in game? Like, do you save the character, you go into a new campaign? Is it you just open up the Lord slot and like he's there?
Yep, so there's a little like load character button in the bottom right hand corner. So you click that, and if you saved the character previously, it will just have the character in the list. Obviously, they cost more, so I think my level 30 Great Unclean one costs like 20. Slaanesh, so I had the money.
Oh wow, okay, so yeah, they're pretty expensive.
Yeah, they're pretty. But what I would love, and this is something that I've suggested, is I would love to see the AI recruit your saved characters. So if you're like,
that would be so great.
Wouldn't it be good? And like, so you could save your character, and then if you're playing against that faction, you might have your character pop up against you. That would be
amazing. Just to like occasionally, like you just see in a Lord leading an army, and you go, oh no, oh no.
But imagine playing harder difficulties, and like very early on, there's this level 45 Exalted Bloodthirster called Paco coming straight for you, right?
True. There would have to be some restrictions on it, but yeah. I do think sort of like having a named character pop up would be.
It's a sandbox. I don't want restrictions in my sandbox.
I mean, you know, you would be able to recruit them for like level 30 or something, or 40.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But Yeah,
that's true. The AI cheats enough. You'd probably have like the AI just recruits a level 40 character you made on like turn 1.
Yeah,
just steamrolls. Yeah, that's great. And kind of just a very brief thing we'll touch on before we move on to the last subject is: have either of y'all had a chance to check out the co-op campaigns?
I have. I played Something is Rotten in Kislev with Mordred Viking and Templar Institute. Good God, is it difficult?
It is stupid fun.
Oh, it's stupid fun.
Stupid fun.
But it's difficult. Like, holy crap.
Something Rotten in Kislev is probably one of the hardest campaigns in the game.
Oh, that's good to know.
Because you have so limited time.
Yeah.
It literally tells you, like, okay, you start off in each of the major cities. So Boris is in Prague, Katarin's in Kislev, and Kostaltin is in Erengrad. You're all teamed up, and you start off with some armies. But the AI starts off with, like, multiple 20 stacks that are, like... And it's all 4 Dark Gods. Plus, like, there's also some Skaven shenanigans and stuff. But, like, you're dealing with... When I say a 20 stack, they've got, like, Great Unclean Ones, Plague Drones. Like, Tzeentch has got, like, Doom Knights, Soul Grinders. Like, they're stacked.
Oh, God.
And you have a timer. So, I think, like, the first one is... There are 4 provinces you essentially need to capture, and every province is dominated by a different Dark God. So Nurgle is between the 3 of you, Khorne's up above Erengrad, Tzeentch is over behind to the right of Kislev, and then to the right of Prague is Slaanesh, something like that.
No, and Slaanesh was on the right of Kislev.
Okay, so Slaanesh is next to Kislev, and then Tzeentch is next to Prague. And what the game tells you is, okay, you start the campaign, boom. They've got all these 20 stacks. You could be attacked at any time. You have a stupid amount of money. All of your buildings finish in 1 turn. You have 400% faster research rate, so most of your techs are in 1 turn. But you have to work, like... You have to coordinate, because it'll tell you, okay, you've got, like, 8 turns, or 8 to 10 turns, to take all of Nurgle's settlements. And if you fail, you lose. So, like, me... I played some Rotten in Kislev with me, Mandalore Gaming, and Anticity, and we missed the part where it was timed, but we were still, like, being aggressive and trying to wipe out Nurgle. We lost. We couldn't do it in time because we weren't aware of it until it was too late. So, like, we were being a little more cautious about, like, letting our armies come back and heal when we should have been pushing more aggressively. But it's like, okay, you've got to take Nurgle down. You got like 8 to 10 turns, and then you do that, and then it's like, okay, next god, and you got to keep going. I think I like the entire campaign. If you took as long as possible, is like 30 turns.
Jeez, that sounds stressful.
Oh yeah,
it
is stressful.
But it's fun though, like because you're working together. It's you versus the world.
Just you talking about it made me feel quite anxious.
Have either of y'all tried the Cathay campaign, the Time of Darkness and Disharmony?
I checked out the requirements and so on. That one was just not for me.
So just to run anybody through it that hasn't heard about it, also very fun, but where Something Rotten in Kislev is the ultimate co-op experience. Time of Darkness is Disharmony is the ultimate player versus player experience. It's basically just like a god. It's a ridiculous, stupid free-for-all. Basically, what they do is they take 8 of you. You could have up to 8 players. They stick all of you in Cathay. So it's the exact same Cathay from the big map, but now there's 8 players in there. So Zhao Ming and Miao Ying start in the exact same spot, but then you've got like Tzeentch starts right next to Miao Ying. You've got ogre characters in the mountains. You've got Khorne way over on the right. Nurgle's just below Khorne, and then Nakari is further down, and so you've got like all these different factions stuffed in together. And what it is it's a free-for-all. So you can make alliances, break alliances, fight each other. You have simultaneous turns, which gets really, really goofy when you're all trying to do stuff at the exact same time against one another, because it's basically whoever clicks first wins. And what it is you get victory points. And you generate a victory point for every settlement you own. And it's the first person to 40 points wins, or the person who has the most points at the end of turn 30 wins.
Yeah.
And the way it works is that most of your buildings take a reduced amount of time to build. You start off with pretty nice starting.
And again, Discord.
Man, Discord today.
Oh, we're back. We're back.
Okay, there we go.
Hooray.
And it's literally just a madhouse. Like I played it with I played it with 3 people, with Mandalorian Anticity, and it was bonkers. I think Turin did a stream where they had 5 people. It's very, very fun, but it is definitely not for people that get. If you're someone that gets tilted easily, probably don't want to play it.
It's a different game mode, basically.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it is. It's basically like if you had a LAN party with friends and you wanted just like a really quick mode, you could play many times back to back, and you all take different characters back every time. It's perfect for that.
Yeah.
And it's a lot less stressful on like your computer per se for an 8-player campaign because it's over a much smaller space. And then of course you can play the main campaign, which the main campaign. If you do co-op, you can do every single player basically picks what they want to do. So not only can you pick a different lord, and it's exactly like the single player campaign. You are racing to get all the Demon Prince souls first. But what's unique about it is that when you join, you kind of pick a team. So, and you could form as many teams as you want. So like every player could just be on their own team. You could have like, the 2 Cathay players are going to be on a team, and then the 2 Kislevite players are on a team. And then, like, Zinch and Korn are on a team, and Nurgle and Slaanesh are on a team. Or you could do it where it's 4v4. Or you could even do something like, the 2 Cathay players are on a team, the 2 Kislev players are on a team, and then all 4 of the Chaos characters are free-for-all. Mm-hmm. So they can make and break alliances as they want. So, like, it doesn't have to be purely team mode. It doesn't have to be purely free-for-all. You can have, like, a big mix. But it's really good for. I actually think it's going to be very popular because it's a lot more longer and more fun, but because you can like take your time with it and it's not like a stressful race as much. But if you have like a group of players who maybe aren't as good at the game and you have one player who's really good, you can literally put all the bad people on a team together so they're all helping each other out, and then the bad player has to deal with all of them, like starting off with a huge advantage. Which can be really good. So if anyone plays against Turin, make sure you're on teams.
Yeah, it's pandemonium, but it's a lot of fun. It's just I think as long as you don't take it too seriously. I think if you take it too seriously, you'll probably not have a good
Yeah. You know, obviously know your levels of salt before you eat this dish. How much salt can you handle?
Yeah.
But so that's it for Total War stuff. And then the last subject for today, which I'm very excited to talk about, because it's something we've kind of dabbled in the past, but we wanted to have Dan on the show to kind of talk more in depth about it, is we're just going to spend a little bit today talking about our histories with Warhammer and just kind of like the hobby in general and the journey to finding and discovering Warhammer and all this stuff. Because Dan is definitely... like us, kind of a member of the old guard.
Oh yes.
So Dan, please
prove it.
Yeah, please enlighten us. Give us a tale. Spin us a story.
Oh, goodness me. Well, I think I first fell into wargaming when I was at school, and I must have been about 9, I guess, and my friend brought in Space Crusade. They had like a board game day basically, and he brought in Space Crusade. Now don't ask me why his parents brought him Space Crusade, but they did. And you know, my tiny little mind was blown because this looked amazing, right? Instantly, girls were something that was not going to be part of my future. It's not a thing. So and Space Crusades, for anyone that's doesn't know what it is because it is quite old at this point, is basically it's a crossover between Hasbro and Games Workshop, and it was Space Marines versus everything, wasn't it? There was Gretchen and Orcs and Chaos Space Marines, and there was a Chaos Dreadnought, And there was also Chaos Androids who look a lot like Necrons.
I see.
Yeah, they literally had the same. You know how the old.
Would you
Necrons,
say suspiciously like Necrons?
I would say suspiciously like. In fact, I would say almost exactly like Necrons. In fact, I think one of them had exactly the same because they had like the gun up like that and their arm down. And I think one of the first Necron models was exactly that. They had like the Gorse gun like that. It was basically exactly the same. And I played this and I thought this was amazing. And then I found Hero Quest. So for my birthday, I got Hero Quest, which again was another Hasbro Games Workshop crossover. And that's basically space, but I think Hero Quest came first. So Space Crusade is basically Hero Quest in space, but Hero Quest was effectively a dungeon crawler. And you had various different monsters, goblins, orcs, Famir, skeletons, zombies. A gargoyle looks a lot like a bloodthirster. And you sort of like move your heroes around and you beat the enemies, and no one wants to be the wizard because he's garbage, and everyone wants to be the barbarian because he's the best character. And so I played that and I thought, well, this is amazing. And this is because when you asked did I want to be on, I was like, I need to do some research for this. So I delved deep, and I delved deep because I remember that after I got Hero Quest, I didn't realise there was any link here because I didn't know what Games Workshop was. I didn't know there was like more models or anything like that. I didn't know what Warhammer was. And the boy that brought Space Crusade in brought a White Dwarf in, brought a magazine in.
Man, what an absolute Chad this guy was.
Right? I think it was because his parents were divorced and his dad felt guilty, so he got 40 quid.
Here, son, love me more. Take these minis.
Right? My parents were loving.
Damn! Yeah,
unfair.
God, why couldn't I have been in a broken home? I couldn't have twice as many Christmases.
So he got like 40 pounds a month for pocket money. Yeah, this was back in like 1991. That you work out that with inflation, that's probably more like 60 quid these days.
Yeah.
Every month. So he brought a White Dwarf in. I remember that we were sort of like, me and him and some other boys were clustered around this White Dwarf reading it in the playground, and the dinner lady came over and took it away because obviously she saw like a group of boys huddled around a magazine. She thought she knew what we were looking at, but she took it away, looked at it, and had this look of sort of like, this is what I expected, but I'm gonna take it away anyway, and I don't know why, but I need to maintain my authority.
Man, that's. They're just looking at it later like your teacher's just like having to do the right thing. Just having this dilemma later.
I guess I should take this away, but I don't know why. If anything, it makes it less likely they're going to look at naked ladies.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So then I got my first White Dwarf, and it was White Dwarf 154.
Wow.
Which has, yeah, I know. And this was, when was this? October 1992.
So for those of us who were less than a year old at that point, could you explain what's so prophetic about this particular White Dwarf issue? Nope, hold on. Discord's chugging. He'll be back.
I'm back.
There we go.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Sorry. It was a suspenseful answer.
Oh, no, he's gone.
GW's cutting us off. They don't.
Oh no, it's this.
Yeah, no one could know about this issue. It was that crazy. It's sacred knowledge.
So to go on. Sorry, it was prophetic because we'll get there eventually.
The teacher took away Monstersabound. You can't have this.
Cancelled me. That's it. So this particular White Dwarf had a battle report in it, and it was mostly Space Marine, so like epic.
Yeah.
Which was Space Marine was one of my first loves because I think, well, the reason was if you looked at a box of goblins, you got 20 goblins in it. Whereas if you look at a box of like Eldar for Space Marine, you got like 500 Eldar in that box. Now, if you're doing the maths, 500 is better than 20.
Yeah,
so,
really. Like, seems pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's better value for money. But the White Dwarf after that one 155 had a battle report in it, which was the Battle of Red Axe Pass, which I think was one of the first battle reports they did for the 4th edition of Warhammer.
Yeah.
I've heard about that one.
Yeah.
I think it's the second one. It's goblins versus elves.
Mm-hmm.
And this blew my... I read this so many times because... And this started my lifelong love affair with goblins, because yes, the high elves won, but elves suck, as we all know, and goblins are way cooler because, let's face it, they can ride spiders, and they've got fanatics and stuff like that, which are just far more interesting. So I was immediately drawn to the goblins, and I think some of the first models I've got were actually the goblin spearmen and night goblin archers.
God,
the ones that, yeah.
Man,
See,
you got some great stuff to start.
Oh, it's good. Now, the only slight issue is that when I was growing up, I grew up in a very rural part of the country, in a very particularly rural part of the county. That this is a rural county, and as such, I only had one opponent really. One other person I knew who happened to be the Chad with the parents in a loveless marriage who wanted to give him lots of pocket money. This was a problem for 2 reasons. One, he obviously had more disposable income than I did, which meant as soon as I bought, say I got something for Christmas, he would instantly then the next month buy the thing that would defeat that thing. The other problem...
yes. I see you've bought a unit of goblin spears.
Yep.
I'd like to introduce you to my high elf bolt thrower.
yeah, but basically, yeah.
Not related. Just, you know.
Wasn't even in just Warhammer though. You do it in Space Marine. Like I lovingly put together my orc army, and he would instantly go and buy 8 boxes of his bloody Eldar because he only collected Eldar and elves. That's what the only thing I ever
Oh
got to
my
fight
god!
against.
I had one of those growing up too.
Fucking worst.
Yeah, they're like, listen, if somebody only collects like, did he do high elves?
Oh, high elves, wood elves.
Yeah.
But if somebody only does elves, listen, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to like ruin anybody's day that's listening. If someone only collects elves, it's a red flag.
Those are meta gamers. Like, that's all. Like,
that's a warning, man.
Yeah.
That's like hearing a rattlesnake rattling. Like that's.
That's why we're no longer friends. He's dead now, I hope. But that's all I had to fight was friggin' Eldar and elves and wood elves. He collected them all, and it was one of those cases where, like, the wood elf book came out. So of course the first thing he got was an entire wood elf army, including 2 dragons, which you know, my poor goblin spearman didn't really have much of a chance against.
And that was 4th, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Where heroes were ridiculously overpowered, I think.
Yeah.
Was that 4th?
It got worse than 5th, but 4th was pretty bad.
That was the beginning of Hero Hammer, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it was that case of, like, I'd get a nice little orc rock lobber, and then he'd get 2 dragons, and well, that always, and because I couldn't pick my army, could I? He would go, what shall I select from my ensemble to bring against you? And I'd be like, well, I'm going to bring the same thing I always do because that's
all I
got. So I will bring the rock lobber, despite the fact that I know that the first thing you're going to do is fly high, and the second thing you're going to do is kill the rock lobber. But never mind. I guess we'll just play the same game we do every time then. But it was, you know, we got Blood Bowl as well. The first, obviously, he had a wood elf team, so every single game was the same thing. He would instantly jump over all of my front line, pass the ball to his wood elf star player, and go and score within 2 bloody turns. The only slight bonus I got was immediately then jumping on his front line and beating the shit out of them until I broke their legs or pushed them into the crowd and killed us. Basically, it was I didn't really care about the ball. I'd given up at that point. It was about how many characters of his can I kill. Well, he did, because he scored lots.
Because these elves, elves are such losers, man. Playing objectives. That's why nobody likes them, man. They're like actually trying to play the rules. Like, get out of here, nerds.
I think that my best day ever was when he had this really, like, high. It wasn't a star player. I think it was just his catcher or something, a war dancer. and he was like very highly ranked. But I managed to get him on the ground, and then I just got all of my team around him and just fouled him until I killed him. And to this day, that's a memory that keeps my cockles warm. So,
man, so you were really into the hobby. I mean, you had Blood Bowl.
Oh yes,
40K before they called it 40K.
I didn't really play 40K, to be honest.
So Space Marine was a different IP.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it's the little guys.
Okay. Was it like War Master?
Yes, it was basically.
Okay.
Yeah, basically War Master for 40K.
Gotcha. I don't think that existed when I got into the hobby.
No, they got rid of it, and then they brought back for 40K Epic. Was it Epic 40K? I can't remember what it was called. But
Apocalypse, I think, is what the mode was.
I don't know.
But
I can't remember. Yeah.
So you were involved in. So how many different games were you playing? Like, it's Space Marine, Fantasy,
Warhammer, Necromunda, that. Had Gorka Morka.
Blood Bowl.
See? Blood Bowl. Yeah, played Blood
Bowl.
All
right, so we're already at one full hand.
Mordheim?
I don't know. What's that?
Mordheim?
Mordheim. You know, I didn't play Mordheim.
Dude.
Fake gamer!
Wow, okay. All right. So takes one to know what Mordheim, I genuinely think Mordheim was the best game that GW ever made.
Love Mordheim. I fucking love Mordheim.
I feel bad that I didn't get into it, but
like me and Nathan have discussed this. We are praying it's one of their bringbacks for the old world. But sorry, continue.
Yeah, I didn't play. When did Mordheim come out? I'm just trying to think.
Probably late 90s, early 2000s. I think it was late 90s. Like 90.
Yeah.
I would guess like 98 or 99.
Yeah, I think that was when I was starting to tail off a little bit.
99.
1999.
Yeah.
Called it.
Yes, that was generally about when I was starting to tail off, because I sort of like I collected Space Marine and Warhammer, and I had a few armies for Warhammer, but there's only one opponent, and the closest Games Workshop was about an hour and 20-minute away, so I couldn't really get to it very easily, and this was before the internet. So were there any groups around me? No. Did he? Where do you find that information in those days? You didn't. It was
you just pray to God you had like a local hobby store or something.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you didn't have that information. It was just no way to find it. So I only had this one opponent who always collected elves, and who had considerably more income than I did. So I was kind of stuck in this position where, what do I do about that? Now I've got two brothers, and they did collect a little bit, but they never really kind of like collected armies. They were never into it as much as I was. So I'd occasionally get them to try and play a battle with me, but it was like pulling teeth. So, but then I kind of lost contact with the annoying elf player, which in some ways is good, because it meant I didn't have to fight elves anymore, which was a bonus. On the other hand, it meant I literally had no one to play against. So I was basically at that point literally just collecting models and painting them, and then going, God, I wish I could play a game, which is a bit sad. And the last thing I ever collected was the Beastmen, and I think this was for the 6th edition.
Oh, okay, they were good.
You went out on like a man. What a gold standard to leave the hobby on. 6th edition Beastmen.
They were all right though. They were decent.
The Minotaurs were decent from my memory. Everything else was pretty garbage.
Actually, they weren't even Beastmen yet. They were Beasts of Chaos in 6th edition.
They were, weren't they? Yeah, because I've actually got because I was like looking up the Wikipedia for. I was like, which edition was it?
Yeah, they 7th. It took until 7th for them to actually get a Beastman book.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm sure it was 5th edition. I looked at it and went, oh god, no, it can't be, because there was no Beasts of.
Yeah, it was just Hordes of Chaos in 5th. Yep.
Yeah, so I was like, oh yeah, and I looked at the front and I was like, yeah, that's definitely the book I had. So I actually collected a Beastman army, but never played it against anyone, which is the saddest thing.
You didn't miss much.
Yeah.
Well,
you didn't miss much.
To be fair, I'd spent most of my gaming life getting trounced, so it was. I mean, it would have been no different.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, sixth edition Morgar was terrifying.
See, I didn't have Morgar. I had Kazrak.
I don't know if he had a. I think he had a mini, but yeah, sixth edition Morgar was like he was terrifyingly good.
Yeah. So I kind of painted and collected for a little while longer, and then didn't really have anyone else to play against. So I was kind of like, and then I found computer games, and I got rid of all my stuff. But it should be said that my brothers are now, well, one of my brothers is now into collecting. He collected War Warhammer for a bit, and then he's currently collecting the Marvel miniatures game.
I've heard that game is like it's not for me. I'm not interested in it, but I've heard it's very, very good.
He loves it. He's playing it with his kids. They seem to like it. So that's good. And then my other brother he's now into Age of Sigmar, which I know, but
no, we love AOS.
That's good. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I've got to submit my list because I'm going to a grand tournament in like 2 weeks.
No, I'm generally I'm not that super into it because I'm not really collecting the models or anything, but I do like kind of like reading the books, or at least listening to the audiobooks.
Don't get me wrong. At the end of Fantasy and start AOS, I hated AOS. I wanted it to die in the most fiery of flames for almost the entirety of first edition. But once they got their crap together around second edition, it got a lot better. But so someone in my chat is asking. So in the Space Marine game, what all did you play?
So I had orcs. I think I had most of the armies. I had orcs. I had squats. I had
the squats.
The squats. I had squats.
Glorious squats.
Is the 154, was it the magazine that I got? That had a battle report in it, which was squats versus orcs, and the squats had a land train, which was so fucking cool.
Supposedly, there are apparently some very strong, reliable rumors squats are coming back, which like I don't think they're going to call them squats because it's kind of it's basically like a derogatory name, but.
It'd probably be Demiurge, won't it? Because they have ships
like that.
for.
Yeah. But like, listen, if they manage to somehow do dwarfs in a 40k like futuristic theme, I very well may pick up that army.
Admittedly, the squats were basically small hairy bikers. That was literally their I mean. If each faction has a theme, short hairy bikers is not a particularly strong thing.
Are you saying if I went out to Utah, I could find real world squats?
Yes, I mean literally
traveling American highways.
You know what? In my mind, I was literally thinking of a particular picture of a squat, which is like this guy is bald, he's got glasses on, he's got this big scraggly beard, and he's like standing next to this bike, and I'm like, you could literally see that in some very sort of rural parts of.
Oh, you could easily find that in the States.
Yeah, so yeah, but they had a land train which was cool, and zeppelins, which is also cool. So I had those, but I also had Tyranids.
I'm team Nids all the way.
Team Nids, because the Tyranids, I think they properly came like in the form that we now know them as, that sort of like, you know, devourer of. They first came in for Epic. They came as the Tyranids before they came into Warhammer 40,000. Before that, they were just that sort of weird, sort of bug monster things, but we're not entirely really sure what they are. Yeah. It wasn't really until they came in for Epic they actually got their sort of redesign.
They had those like they're kind of thick at the bottom but really tall at the top, weren't they, and lanky at the top.
Yeah. Because
are you describing Tyranids or like your favorite like?
I've got some of those Tyranid miniatures because they used to be based on squares, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yeah, big squares. Yeah, and the entire Tyranid army was Termagants, Tyranid warriors. There was a Carnifex as well.
I'm gonna ask this question less rudely, but someone in chat asks, Dad, do you remember something called Tyranid Attack?
Tyranid. Oh, for Space Crusades. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's where you got the Tyranid model. And also there was I remember there was what Games Workshop used to be far more risque, but I remember a story in one of the early White Dwarves where I think this was added, which was about these scouts on a Tyranid vessel. Like they kind of like infiltrate it and like try and sabotage it from within. The idea being that the Tyranids, it's kind of like the Borg, the Tyranids are asleep until you prod them with a stick and then they wake up and stab you in the face. But the scouts were... Anyway, this story was basically about how they find like naked human women on a Tyranid spaceship. And you're like, that's a bit weird. But then Games Workshop used to be very risque early on.
Games Workshop used to market very heavily to teenage boys.
Yeah, I mean, remember the old Demonette models? Which people don't
you remember 6th edition Dark Elves?
Ah.
Which, fun story, I actually had a 6th edition, had being the keyword, past tense, a 6th edition, or no, I think it was 7th edition. It was a 7th edition, the books are still paperback, a 7th edition Dark Elves book. And I had a friend I was trying to get into Warhammer. And it's key to this story that he's Mexican. Because I lent him the Dark Elf book so he could like read over it, get into the lore, fall in love with the army, and start buying minis and stuff. And he took it home. And his mother found it. And she just like... when she found it, she just like went off on him. Because she was just like, this is a Catholic household. How dare you bring this smut into our home?
Was that the one with the scary witch elf lady doing the shouty at the front?
Yeah,
because even now that's seared into my brain.
Yeah,
she got me through many a cult.
Yeah, so she thought it was like halfway between like Satanism pamphlet and porn. She literally burned it. It was burned. It was never returned to me. And you know what? I just didn't bring it up. I was like, you know what? That's a lost cause. Just don't tell her where you got it.
I was actually going to ask because I remember reading a trilogy called the Conrad trilogy, and it's not the vampire. Yeah. It was a very early trilogy of books.
I think that's the old demon one. That's like one of the OG Black Library trilogies.
Yeah, so I think it was before they had Black Library. And
I think Black Library, like I think you could still buy it from them as like a ebook or something, because they've got some of like the really old books for sale.
Yeah.
But I remember getting this book for my like 11. I think I was 11 when I got it. I got it for Christmas. I don't think my mother realised, but there's definitely a lot of sex in it. Particularly a point in the second book where the main character sexes a corn mutant lady to death.
To death?
To death.
Wow!
It's just... Discord's just gotten stuck again.
I mean, that is... Yeah, Discord couldn't even handle that. That is... Yeah. Wow, that's impressive. Like, wow, okay.
Yeah. I also remember and I wouldn't suggest you actually read this trilogy, because I remember the first book being very good, the second book being okay, and the third book basically forgetting that it was running out of pages until the last chapter, and then...
Oh, like every GW series.
I mean, literally within the last chapter, he saves the Emperor, falls down a big chasm, loses his best friend, and finds out the thing that he's been trying to find out since the first book, but not in a particularly good way.
He was writing and someone came in and was like, hey, they said no to a fourth book, you gotta wrap this up.
It really does feel like that. Like, literally, he's getting his head on. Shit, I better... Right, he saves the Emperor, then he's going to go down to a big hole that happens to be there for some reason, and then he loses his best friend, because why not? And then he finds his love eventually, and that's when we're going to end the book. I don't really want to finish it off, so that's fine.
You do not get to pull the spoilers card. No. Like,
no. Don't worry, it's not that much of a spoiler, because it's not that good of a book, to be honest. And if you were waiting since the first book to find out if he found her, the answer is yes, but that's it. That's all he does. He just finds her, and then the book ends. So there's no payoff. That's
wow, that is. I've read some atrocious stories, but that's a whole nother.
That is very GW though. That is very GW.
Although, as I say, he does sex a corn mutant to death in the second book, so maybe read up to that point, and that'd be fine.
Man, I have read some like bonkers fantasy books, like Wizard's First Rule and some other shit. I do not recall a story of someone literally sexing someone to death. That has not happened in my repertoire. Apparently, I need to expand my horizons.
The earliest books that came out from like GW are bizarre. Yeah. Like, there's some things I can't even say on the stream because it will instantly get us all demonetized.
It was the 80s.
There's a lot of weird stuff.
The 80s were super edgy.
Yeah, like really,
especially
edgy.
in the fantasy sphere of things.
Yeah, like the Teclis and Tyrion stuff. Like, whoa, no.
Yeah, there's it's very interesting reading like modern lore and people being like, oh, it's so grimdark, and it's like no, it's like it's thematically dark.
Yeah,
but there's just some like even just like reading the Malice Darkblade.
And it got stuck again.
Age of Sigmar or like late. Oop, Discord.
Yeah, it got stuck again.
Yeah. So like reading Malice Darkblade for people who have like I don't know grew up with like fantasy from like 7th edition forward or like 40K. Like if you go back and read Malice Darkblade, there will be parts where you're like, whoa, like what in the hell is going on in this book?
Yeah. There's like, I remember. Oh God, it was one of the Tyrion novels, and it was
people
just
think, oh,
shocking.
it's such a meme that Morothy like screws Malekith. That's so dumb. Yeah, no, that's because it actually used to be canon.
Yeah,
like that used to be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Games Workshop just at a point was like, you know what? Maybe Malekith doesn't need to be incestuous. Like maybe we don't need that part.
That's half of his thing, though, isn't it?
Mm.
Well, he's encased in armor. 2, he does the thing with his mother.
They kind of sat there, and I think someone at Black Library finally went, if Malekith is encased in his armor, shouldn't that mean he can't take it off?
There's a zip at the front. Yeah,
opens it up. Little key.
It's somehow the only part that didn't get burned.
Yeah,
but yeah. So they literally address that in the modern Tyrion and Teclis trilogy. There's literally a part where Teclis is like talking about Malekith, and he says something along. They're talking about Malekith, and he says something along the lines of like, well, at least like. If Malekith dies, like the Dark Elves are like doomed to fall apart because Malekith literally can't have kids because he's sealed in his armor. Like he's basically like he can't reproduce, and you're like, oh yeah, like yeah, he's got a point.
Isn't one of the lore points about the Dark Elves that like Malekith, like half of them are Malekith's kids anyway because he's just
because
around.
Later on in 8th, he's married to. Because his wife stayed with him, didn't she? Or she fled to Athaloran.
She leaves pretty early.
Yeah.
Like way before he's like Malek. But Malekith never has any kids.
Yeah, because Morath is instrumental in her death. Because when the Wood Elves, when Ariel goes to deal with Morathi, he's just like, yeah, go nuts.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I found out you killed my wife, so like, die.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be a nightmare for him, isn't it? I mean, he's surrounded by all those semi-naked ladies, and he's like, oh, I can't do anything about it.
Honestly, the way they portray Malekith's personality, it seems like he legitimately hit a point where he's just so bitter about everything. I don't think he could get in the mood if he wanted to. Like, he's gone. Like, here's depression. He went past it to the point where he's just angry all the time now.
That's a shame, because the Dark Elves are the only elves that I actually like, because they obviously have the goth girls, and there's nothing more than my type than a woman who looks like she's going to kill me.
Yeah, Morothy is still a super big horn dog. Like, that hasn't changed. She's still the leader of the Cult of Pleasure. And Hellebron, like, they gave us Hellebron and, oh god, what's his name? The Executioner special character.
Talaris.
Talaris Dreadbringer. Those two are hilarious. Because Hellebron's whole thing is that she gets her age catches up with her every year until Blood Night. So she turns into, like, this super ugly, wizened old crone that's, like, barely able to move around and stuff. And then the new year starts for Death Knight. She gets super young, and the first thing she does, like, every single year is she bones Talaris immediately. That's the first thing they do on Death Knight.
Good, he's a Chad. He deserves it.
So hilarious. Yeah, I love Talaris. He's hilarious.
He's a great character. He deserves it. Good on him.
Great character. Definitely deserves that Death Knight.
Yeah.
just see Talaris, and you're just like, you earned this, man.
Yeah.
Good job.
Oh god.
If she's like, it's I know it's a night before, but do you want to do it now? Or he's like, let's give it a night.
Yeah.
Just after.
Where everything is where it needs to be, right?
It's probably like, Lude, I don't want, like, I don't know what's gonna be left of you if we're like, let's wait. But that is a fascinating history. My chat dubbed you a venerable ancient.
I feel it. I feel it.
Of the hobby community.
I'd love to get back into it as well. My brother gave. Is it War Bands? The little.
Underworlds. AOS. Yeah, AOS Warhammer Underworlds.
Underworlds. It's War.
Warcry.
Underworlds. You
Warcry.
collect.
That's it.
Warcry. Okay, yeah.
Warcry. So my brother got the box set and he's given me they're not the armored guys, the other ones, the ones that have G-strings, the big muscle G-string men. So I've got those in a box, and I keep thinking I need to get some paints and paint them again. And
hey, I mean, Warhammer: The Old World's coming out anytime, any year now, any month now. So, like, it's a good time.
Yeah.
It's just finding the time at the moment.
Iron's not hot yet, but it's heating up. It's heating up.
Especially
because, like, Nathan's done a really good job of checking whenever they kind of release something really interesting for AOS. Any of the ones you would really expect to be backwards compatible with fantasy fit on fantasy bases.
Yeah,
I think Games Workshop's been building up to this for a while.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, to be honest, because obviously playing Total War Warhammer has relighted my passion for.
Oh, OGW. What should we do with this fading IP of ours? Well, there's this really big video game about to come out. We better kill it.
Yeah.
We better kill it, just to be safe.
Just drown it underwater, put the pillow over its face. There we go.
It's literally like you murder a relative that...
The game.
Someone comes by and it's like, hey, they won the lottery. They gotta go pick up their check. Like, they hear? Oh. Oh no.
Discord got stuck as soon as you said you murder a relative, and everything just goes silent.
But it's like, GW, what a legacy.
Yeah, it's
always making just whack decisions.
They're clearly thinking like it's 2030 or something. You know, they're thinking ahead. Let's fuck the fan base, and then when we bring back the setting, everyone will be happy again.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe that really was the plan all along. Is they'll really want it back.
Are they doing New Coke again? Is that basically what they're doing?
Yes,
Warhammer.
New Coke.
Bring it back.
Here, let's make sure we make everyone so mad they sell or burn all their minis, then they have to buy new minis.
Well,
there we go.
The new Coke thing. Their first post about it, their literal first post was Old World, New Warhammer. You know, it's like.
So you're right. They're just waiting until the model drift out of the model economy, and then once it's all out of there, they can then bring in the new model.
Hey, did you sell those useless models to collectors because you can't use them anymore? Yeah, you did. Okay, well you could use them now.
Yeah. Breaks my heart.
All right, but we are out of time. We are way over time, actually. Dan, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was delightful to get to hear about all that.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been really fun.
This is a blast. This is great.
Yeah.
Do you have any big things? So, Monstersabound on YouTube.
Yes.
Any place you'd like people? Where can people find you if they're looking to engage in more of your content, learn more about you, and all that stuff?
Literally YouTube. I'm so lazy. I don't. That's the best place, to be honest. Go to YouTube. Watch my videos.
No TikTok. No Instagram.
I've done the odd dab and the odd floss, but apart from that, no. It's just
OnlyFans.
Is too young for me.
OnlyFans.
Yes, obviously.
Nathan promised me you were a Fortnite streamer. Are you telling me that we did this whole show and you're not?
I've got no. I'm sorry. No, no.
Man, fake gamer indeed. My God.
No. I only play strategy games like a nerd.
All right, so Monster Monsters Abound on
Monsters Abound.
YouTube. I will have a link to that in the relevant places. Or if you're listening on one of the podcast sites, you're an adult, you can look it up yourself. It's not that hard. Do you have anything coming out in the near future? Anything people should be on the lookout for?
Nah, I release videos every day. That's it. That's literally all I do is just play the game, and rather than do the talking in my head, which is what I normally do, I verbalize it. That's all my videos are. They are the lowest common denominator.
To be fair, though, a lot of people don't understand how actually fucking hard that is.
Yeah.
to like play a game and talk at the same time is actually genuinely difficult.
I know, but you guys do like analysis. You think about things. You write scripts. I just go on and go, I can't remember what I was doing last time. Let's move that guy over there.
That we put over it so we can do them separately.
Yeah, you can't put me on the spot. I panic, man.
Nathan, anything you got coming up over the next week?
Well, I've got to paint that Beastman character. And obviously there's still a few embargoes to go. You know, the most important Chaos God is going to be showcased soon. So. Yep.
And if you're like, man, I'd love to know all the embargoes, guess what? They're leaked on Reddit. You can look at it. It's not hard.
They got leaked like
immediately.
Yeah.
Instantly. I don't know why CA just doesn't.
Yeah. It's got stuck again. There we go. It's back.
Okay. Great. That's awesome. Obviously, Total War Warhammer 2 comes out in less than 2 weeks.
Free.
What?
Warhammer free.
Warhammer 2's been out for a while.
No, they're re-releasing Warhammer 2. No one else gets Warhammer 3. Only
more Skaven DLC. Let's go.
Oh man, Discord is like,
not happy, is it?
We need to wrap this up. Okay, so Discord's just like, okay, so, great to see you all. Thank you all so much for coming by. Total War Warhammer 3 comes out soon. We'll have more stuff on it. Me and Nathan will be back next week. And hopefully we'll have Dan on again sometime in the future. But till next time, remember next week, character model is due for anyone that's participating.
And it got stuck again. Oh god, Discord today is just not working.
Next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.
Right, I'm going to just end the stream here because Discord's just dying and everything. We'll just end it here. Thank you for popping by, everyone. Lovely to see you all again. Tomorrow, I'll be streaming Kislev again. But with that being said, I'll see you all again very, very soon.